I'm Joey.T.Cartoon.P and you're watching the Cartoon Palooza. I'm not trying to sound biased here or anything, but is it me or do I feel like we don't give enough credit to Mexico?
This country is rich in culture, history, art, and lore. No, they don't just bring in drug dealers and cartels, or as the mass media would like to tell you they do. Some of my favorite artists are Mexican, some of my favorite filmmakers hail from Mexico, and what most people don't realize is that Mexico has given us a share of great animators. Bill Melendez is a granddaddy when it comes to animation legends, having given us the Peanuts in animated form, as well as the voice of Snoopy in Woodstock. Phil Roman was considered Chuck Jones' protege. He would go on to produce some of the biggest animated shows on television, and we continue to celebrate this long line of Mexican animators with Jorge Gutierrez. Gutierrez was an animator while studying CalArts, decided to do the unimaginable, go into computer animation. This was at a time when hand-drawn animation was just dying out at the box office. Gutierrez honed in his skills in computer animation to produce one of the pre-viral videos, utilizing a little-known tool known as Flash. This would lead him to making his own studio along with his future wife and longtime collaborator, Susan Ekihula?
God forbid me from murdering that name.
They produced one of the lesser known and underrated Nicktoons, El Tigre. The show about a boy struggling to fulfill his destiny as either a superhero like his father or a supervillain like his grandfather. At the time, this show was unlike anything I've seen. I was in high school and most of what was produced with Flash animation was mediocre. When I saw this show, my mind was blown. It was stylized, well-drafted, and screamed Mexico.
For God's sakes, the main character's girlfriend's named Frida. You just can't get more Mexican than that.
After the show was off the air, I still followed Gutierrez's work. He even posted on DeviantArt. That's awesome. What I didn't know was that he was always working on an animated movie, going way past his work on El Tigre and pre-YouTube internet. It wasn't until 2014 when horror icon and McFoyle patriarch Guillermo del Toro would help produce his passion project under the name The Book of Life. It was a movie about the Mexican holiday, the Day of the Dead. What's funny is how at the time this movie was made, Pixar had their own film in development based on the Day of the Dead, and Disney was trying to trademark the holiday to either use in that movie or another.
Yeah, Disney was trying to trademark a holiday. Did some studio executive just think you could buy a holiday or a whole culture, like a license or something? I don't know, it sounds preposterous.
Obviously it didn't go through, but it's funny to think that that could have happened. Made for a relatively small budget at a studio based in Dallas, the movie features amazing visuals, great slapstick, and a story that may seem a little familiar, but we'll get into that later. The movie starts with a tour guide taking a group of miscreant children into a special part of the museum that celebrates Mexican lore. Then they learn of a book that introduces the actual story. The funny thing about this story element is that despite being a neat way to tie together the story to the real world, it may not have been needed. We see a character called a Candlemaker. He's holding the book that we're hearing the story from, and in some ways, it would actually make sense if he were the one telling the story. Sometimes you even forget that this is a story within a story, and in some cases, may have been better off. We learn that there are gods who play bets with each other on the fate of humanity. Just because I guess gods get bored like we do. I mean, just imagine being immortal. I would take on crazy bets as well. Their biggest wager, seeing if two children will win the hand of their best friend for marriage.
Yeah, it's a silly wager, but truth be told, I think the movie's self-aware of this.
So these ancient gods picked 3 little kids to represent the whole world?
Yeah, pretty crazy, right?
One boy grows up to be a bullfighter who would rather play music than fight bulls, and the other wants to strive to be a mighty warrior like his father. The good god places her fate in the bullfighter Manolo, and the bad god, played by Ron Perlman, on the fighter Joaquin. I think it's funny seeing Ron Perlman play the evils of Alba, especially since, this was Del Toro's choice. And he's also playing a sillier version of the Lich King, so that's pretty cool too. I got no issue with this. Ron Perlman is a longtime voice actor, and yeah, he's perfect for this role. It's a great voice matched with a great design, which is kind of a recurring pattern in this film. Even Channing Tatum, who plays Joaquin, does a pretty good job, so I really have no complaints with this cast. The children grow up, and their friend becomes a cliche. Remember when I said that this was a story we've seen before? Well, let's talk about Maria. She's the rebellious but good-willed princess who can fight for herself, but eventually needs the help of a man once, twice, 3 times in the movie. Don't get me wrong, she's pretty cool and does take a shot to the villain's face at the end of the movie, but when she gets captured and defeated right after she fends for herself, it does seem kinda counterintuitive.
I belong to no one.
Let me guess. She's gonna get married by the end of the movie. There you go.
Our main hero is a musician struggling to be the man he wants to be when his family expects him to be a bullfighter. While he bullfights, he outright ditches the killing part for the sake of his heart. And no, he's not a pacifist. At the end of the movie, he's kicking all sorts of butt. But he's the kind of guy that would much rather be doing covers of Mumford & Sons. Yeah, Mumford & Sons. They do covers of Mumford & Sons. And Radiohead. The movie takes the Moulin Rouge approach and becomes a jukebox musical. It works effectively since a lot of these songs are not pop tunes you think of. But then again, what kid these days is listening to OK Computer?
Okay, so maybe we know which kid that is, the one nobody understands, but I digress.
But I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo.
Because Maria is such a strong, independent, and motivated character who can fight for herself, she gets poisoned and both Manolo and Joaquin need to rescue her. Manolo unfortunately falls into a trap created by Zabalba and gets taken to the underworld, which is honestly when the movie starts getting good. The designs are fantastic, the animation is imaginative, and the jokes start landing harder.
You know, I've been down here for years awaiting my beloved honey bunny. Too soon!
It isn't until Manolo realizes what happened does he have to go on a quest to get his humanity again. Part of which includes saving his village from a Saturday morning cartoon villain. Yup, this movie's got a villain you'd find in a Saturday morning cartoon. He's menacing, he's got metal gauntlets, minions, and a deep gravelly voice.
Gather my men, we ride for San Angel.
I know there's a particular cartoon villain specifically from an 80s show that he reminds me of. I just can't put my finger on it. Was it Gargamel?
Will Manolo reach self-discovery? Will there be a big battle? And most importantly, will this movie remind you of the El Tigre episode, The Grave Escape? Yeah, go back to the series and watch that episode where Manny has to go to the underworld, seek the guidance of his ancestors, and save the day. If that wasn't enough to convince you, both this episode and the movie were written by Doug Landell, who collaborated with Gutierrez while working on El Tigre. But truth be told, I may be cracking a lot of jokes about this movie for having characters that are familiar. But I hope that won't persuade you from skipping this movie. Honestly, this movie does have a lot going for it. There's plenty of great visuals and a story that honors Mexican tradition with good old-fashioned cartoon humor. It's great to see a movie that embraces the silliness of a Fleischer cartoon today. I'll even go as far as to say the movie does to Dias de los Muertos what Nightmare Before Christmas does for Halloween. It's got its flaws, but I can totally see people referring to this movie as the one that made the holiday cool again.
Okay, before I give my rating, there's one scene in this movie that completely changes everything. This scene pretty much takes an average movie and makes it spectacular. Which scene is that? The bullfighting scene.
Manolo is asked to fight every bull his ancestor has fought. However, when it comes time to kill the bull, do we get the same thing where he's saying killing the bull is wrong? Nope. Instead, we get this. What goes from a contrived being yourself scenario turns into a heartwarming melody I usually watch on its own. Manolo's singing a song about making amends towards killing the bulls. But really listen to these lyrics.
Toto, I am humbled, for tonight I understand. Your royal blood was never meant to decorate this sand. You've suffered great injustice, so have thousands before you. I offer an apology, and one long overdue.
A lot of these lyrics don't apply to just bullfighting, just a general act of forgiveness. It's sweet poetry that acknowledges how people fight, hold grudges, and find hatred in each other. Out of hate comes love, even if one person can risk his life trying to end a cycle of hatred for the sake that they're both people. These are two things in the same race of morality. I think it's easy to say you're sorry, but to truly see the good in somebody you always assumed was evil is 10 times harder. I don't look at this song and just see a character going over his arc. I see poetry on how we as people should look at the things we hate and try to find the love. I love this song, and I love the fact that it was used in this movie.
Okay, debrief over. This movie's worth it. Chances are this is the best Dias de los Muertos movie we have. For now, I want to know in the comment section below, what is your favorite animated holiday movie? Comment and let me know. I'm Joey Tedesco, and thanks for watching this review on the Cartoon Palooza.